Jenny,
Yes.
I got on your. Is it a website or I got to call it a blog? What am I calling this?
So blogging has always, in my mind, has like negative connotation to it because it was kind of put aside, I feel like, is that the bloggers just kind of wrote their stories.
Right. Media would make fun of bloggers.
Yes. So
okay.
I call it a website. And when I'm teaching, I call it that it's their business and it's their websites.
Okay.
So, yes.
Got it. Because when I hear the word blog, I've been taught that it's you in your underwear in the garage, with some cynical words to say, right? But that's not what's happening here. Because when I'm on your website, it's phenomenal. I mean, when I look at it, to me, it reminds me of an online magazine, and I don't know if that is if I just offended you or not, right?
No, not at all.
Okay.
That's exactly what we're going for.
Okay.
Yes.
So describe for me this process of how you got this started, because one thing's clear for me. When I look at this is no joke. This is the real deal. And it wasn't what I was expecting, right? And it took me some time to understand that. So how did you get started doing this?
So the Melrose Family, which is my lifestyle blog, it's themelrosefamily.com. I started it 6 years ago. I was a full-time teacher and I just had a new baby. And I kind of felt like I needed something to ground myself and find myself again as a new mother. So it started off just kind of like as a hobby. And then as I got brought more into the blogging world, you would say, I saw that you could monetize and grow it. So it turned into something much larger than what I started it off as. I create quick and easy recipes and projects for busy parents. I make my income from ads that will pop along the side, which any website that you go to now, you get ads that will pop along your pretty much anywhere.
Right.
So I make a percentage from ads, but my largest income actually comes from working with brands. So a brand will pay me to use their product and create and develop a recipe or put together a parenting tips, or it could even be a craft project. So I'll use their product in the creation that I have, and then they're paying me a decent amount of money to do that.
Let's back up a little bit because you just said a bunch. The Melrose Family is the name of the website, melrosefamily.com, I guess, right?
That's
correct?
Right. Yes.
And now I'm on that site, right? And so I see the different areas, projects, recipes, tips, tricks. I get it, right? Resources. Well, I could go set this up tomorrow. Why is it that Betty Crocker will pay you, but they're not going to pay Joe? So how does that work, right?
Well, they may pay Joe. They just
I doubt it.
It's all dependent upon your influence. So I have grown an audience. I have grown an audience all across social media. So when you're talking about social media, I know the ins and outs of pretty much everything, from Pinterest to Snapchat to Twitter to Instagram. I'm on it. I know how to use it, and I know how to market my content there. And because of that, the brands see the power that I bring to the table, because I can go to my Facebook page, which has 73,000 fans, and do a live feed and talk about their product in the live feed, and it's going to reach a lot more people. And because it's coming from me, from someone that they feel they trust,
right,
because they're part of my audience, they're more likely to use that brand.
Got it. So do you have a sort of a demographics, just like a radio station would or a television station would, and that sort of stuff, and you try and monetize that to those brands?
Yes. So my demographics is 25 to about 45, and they're primarily women. 95% are women. Most of them have children, and they're primarily looking for something that's quick and easy. They work either they're home with the kids, so they don't have a ton of time because they're wrangling children, or they're working outside of the home. I have a lot of teachers, and it's all across the country, in the U.S. and also nationally as well. So.
Interesting.
So there's a whole strategy, just like a strategy behind building a restaurant. There's a whole strategy behind building up your followers and converting them into buyers. Am I right?
Yes, absolutely.
So talk a little bit a bit more. Educate Joe and his 5 friends that are listening about more about
cold-hearted man.
About that strategy. Like what does that look like? Because you have marketing plans, you run QuickBooks, you run all of that.
Yes. So when I started, I didn't totally understand what I had gotten myself into. It blew up, and I was able to replace. So I lived in New York at the time when I started this about 6 years ago. And I was able to replace my New York teaching salary within probably the first about 3 to 4 years. And now I make well over 6 figures doing this. And I know it sounds crazy because you're just creating content and you're putting out pictures, but there's so much strategy to everything that I do. I know the picture size that you need to have on Facebook. I know what you need to have on Pinterest as far as the size that you should have. And now I'm to a point where I'm teaching others how to do this because I know the pain points. I understand what it's like to put your time into creating all this content and wanting to monetize it and make an income from it and not understanding the next steps and knowing how to use your social media to grow a following that cares about what you're talking about and that wants to buy pretty much anything that you put out there. And I think that is kind of the difference between when you can actually make an income from your site and when you can't. Is if you don't understand your audience, it's just like a brick and mortar. You don't understand your audience, you don't know who's coming to you, you're not going to be able to put out those products.
And when I'm looking at this, I started a magazine years ago. It was probably one of the hardest businesses I ever started, because try selling, a magazine that you don't have yet, right? Would you like to advertise on?
Right.
This reminds me of that, getting that started, but there is virtually zero cost of distribution, where magazines got a large distribution, and there's zero print costs, where a magazine had a lot of. But the end result is you are looking to be able to give free content so that you can sell to these advertisers and these brands, and I get that, but I got to tell you something. It is done in such a tasteful way. I don't feel like I'm being oversold. I'm okay if Betty Crocker is telling me about this recipe, right? I'm all right with that. So, do they help you put this stuff together, or do you do it and then you drop their logo in? How does that work? How do you communicate with these larger organizations to please them? Because at the end of the day, you have to make sure they're happy with what you're doing.
Yes, and that's actually my specialty. I have also JennyMelrose.com, which is my second site, where I actually teach influencers how to monetize and grow their sites. And that is exactly what I'm teaching them to do, because the brands, in order to find the brands, the brands they're not able to find you. There are millions of bloggers out there. So in order to work with a brand, you have to know how to pitch them. Have to know what your strengths are and how to speak to them to show them that your audience is going to love their product and that you understand exactly how to put together something where it doesn't feel salesy, it feels authentic, and it feels like content that your readers are going to want to read.
Okay, so now we're getting to, which is standard business stuff, which is lead generation, right? And sooner or later, you got to get in front of somebody. Now, I don't know if you do it through the computer or by the phone, but sooner or later, you got to get one-on-one. Talk about that lead generation, because that's not easy to do, especially the type of advertisers that you're attracting.
So there's a whole process that we go through, but it's all via email. Everything is virtual for us. So I teach actually how to find the right email address, what to include in your pitch. And then once you reach out with an initial pitch, it's just kind of like you would reach out to a regular brick and mortar wanted to reach out to someone else. And when you put that pitch together, it's then asking to put together the proposal. You then need to be able to put together the contracts that go along with it. So you are putting all of these pieces together. And I have a whole process that I actually teach, because I have online courses. As a former teacher, it's one of my strengths.
Right.
And I put together a course that actually walks them through the entire process of reaching out to a brand and landing these long-term contracts.